kind of just get it out there, what you noticed, what you saw. If you want to touch on right before the diagnosis and diagnosis. So if you want to introduce yourself, and then just, you can get right into it if you want.
Yeah, so my name is Lily. This is AJ.
Hi, AJ.
Hi.
This is our son Riker, who is type 1 diabetic.
Yep.
He was diagnosed on Christmas Eve last year. So I just I want to get this out there too, because I wish I had known. Right. And I knew something was up, but I didn't know what. So he was diagnosed December, and
on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, so I first started noticing things in October.
Okay.
And he's little, so of course it was different, and he could never tell me Mom, I'm not feeling good. But it started with the milk. He was just drinking bottle and bottle after of milk, and so I switched him to water, especially at night, because we were going through a gallon of milk in 2 days.
Wow. Okay.
And so I switched him to water, and then it was just water all the time.
And you noticed this in October?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had dislocated my knee in November, beginning of November. So I wasn't at work. I was home all the time, and he was super clingy. Didn't want to do anything, just wanted to read books with me, draw. And I was like, that's cool. He just wants to read books and hang out with mommy. And let's see what happened next.
Water.
Yeah, I was still with the water just all the time. If he didn't have his water, he was screaming, crying.
Okay. So was he sleeping the same?
No. So that's the other thing too, is his naps were very short-lived.
They were?
We'd maybe get 30, 40-minute naps, and then that was it. And at night too, it was it would take us so long to get him in bed. And usually, we would just, sing to him, walk him around, and he'd be asleep 20 minutes, but it was taking forever.
Interesting. Okay. So his sleep was changing, and he was not resting well. So it was taking him a long time to settle down. Yeah. And he wasn't sleeping like he had been before. Is that right? No. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He wasn't. I mean, he was never a great sleeper, which is why I kind of just he's just going through something else, and this is kind of just his normal thing, just worse. So I kind of let that go, and the same thing with the water. And I know back in October, before I dislocated my knee, I Googled why is my toddler drinking so much water?
You did? Okay.
And I saw diabetes, but I didn't think he's healthy, there was nothing really wrong. But towards the end, right before diagnosis, probably
that your family was also telling you that there was nothing wrong.
Right. So everyone around me too was oh, he's just being a kid. He just wants his mom.
So now at this time, how old was he? Between
he was 14, almost 15 months old.
Wow. Okay. So I consider 16. A baby still. I say that's a baby. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, he's so little, and I had no idea. And towards the end, towards Christmas Eve, I noticed his shoulders. When I picked him up, how babies kind of tense up and help you pick them up. He just he was a noodle. It was picking up a limp baby, and I was this can't be right.
So you felt a difference, like that he felt lighter to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I put a call into his pediatrician, and I was like, can we get him in sooner? Because his appointment wasn't for another like 2 weeks.
So was this beginning of December?
In December.
Okay.
And his appointment would have been the Monday after. The Monday after Christmas. So it would have been that Monday, but he was so far into DK by the time that we actually took him to the hospital.
Okay.
That it was like, I don't know what would have happened by Monday.
So you noticed thirst. He was drinking a lot more. He was cranky, clingy, whiny. His sleep was disrupted. So where some people are saying that they were fatigued and they were kind of dragging. I know my daughter Cassie, she was dragging in the mornings before school, putting her head down on the desk at school and complaining of headaches. But for your son, he was a little more wired, like he seemed restless to you.
Yeah, very restless.
And how about his diaper?
Bedtime
was he going through his diaper?
Yeah, so Christmas Eve when we took him in, he was soaking through diapers every 20 minutes. Wow. And just downing the water. And it was like, we have to go. Like, it doesn't matter. It's Christmas Eve. We need to go.
So did you go to the emergency room?
We did. We went to Dayton Children's Emergency. And that's when they asked me, like, does anyone in the family have diabetes? And I mean, not that we know of. Not in AJ's family, not in mine.
Yeah, us either.
But my dad does have type 2, and at the time I didn't know what type he was. So they asked, and I was like, well, my dad does. I don't know if it's type 1 or type 2. And that's when they were like, okay, let's do, like, finger prick, like, right now. And I was like, okay, like, and all they could say was he was greater than 680, and we were waiting for the team of doctors to come and, like, get him hooked up to the IV and everything. It was so crazy. And there was something else that I noticed, but he's a toddler, so it was kind of like I didn't know if it was normal or not. Like, I'm a first-time mom. This is my baby. Like, I didn't know. And he had just started walking in October. And at first he was really great at walking. And then all of a sudden he just got, like, wobbly and, like, he was dizzy. And it was like maybe he's just, stumbling around because, he's not used to his new legs. So I was like, I kind of wrote that off. And same with the water, but it was like he was drinking so much water that when I would carry him around, I could hear the water just swishing around in his belly. And I was like, that can't be healthy for anybody. And I really thought that, because I drink a ton of water, I thought that he just wanted to be like me and drink a bunch of water. And no, so DK was, I didn't know what it was. I mean, they kept saying it, but like, I didn't realize how serious it was. And I didn't realize how serious it was until probably a couple weeks after leaving the hospital.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. It didn't really come crashing down on me, and I didn't really fully understand the seriousness of it, and how worse things could have been in, like, even 24 hours until I got home and started just researching it myself. So yeah. I hear him. Aww. So then let me ask you this, Lily. You said you noticed in October some changes.
Yeah.
So was he still playing normally?
Sometimes, but like I said, he was really fatigued. So like he'd get up and play for like 10 minutes and then he would just call it quits. Like he needs to be held, like needs to go for a nap. And he was so tired all the time. And I just the balloon popped.
I heard it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was, but I heard it.
Yeah.
So how are you doing?
Things have been a lot better, and he has done a complete 180. Like, he's a totally different kid, and I didn't realize how much of him that I was actually missing.
Oh, okay.
Until like afterwards, and he got his insulin and he was feeling better. I was like, this is my baby.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I was working so much, and after my knee healed, I had gone back to work, and he was spending a lot of time with grandma and grandpa while I was at work. But I came to get him one day, and he was taking a nap with grandpa, and when I got him, like, he was drenched in sweat. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, were you guys just super hot? Or
what month was this?
That was probably mid-December, like right before his diagnosis, like 2 weeks before.
Okay.
Probably.
So what made you decide to pick him up on Christmas Eve and not wait for the scheduled pediatrician visit and take him to the ER? Like, what was it in you and what were you seeing that you said, we have to go to the emergency room?
So that night, the whole family was here. We were doing Christmas on Christmas Eve. We were opening up presents. Riker had a bunch of stuff, and he wanted to play so bad, but he just didn't have the energy, and he was really kind of like lethargic and like nonchalant, like couldn't focus, just like sitting there, just like, what's going on, Mom? And at this point, he wasn't like really whining a whole lot, but he was just like, like really lethargic and just.
Did he look like out of it? Did he have like a weird spacey look?
Yeah. And he was sitting with my sister-in-law. He was sitting on her lap. He peed through his diaper on her twice, and she was like, I ain't holding him anymore. And it was just, and I took AJ aside, and I was like, I don't know what's going on with him. Like, I don't know what this could be, but his health is really like declining.
Yeah.
Like fast, and I'm watching it happen like in my eyes, and like we need to do something. So that's when he talked to his mom. He told his mom like how I was feeling about everything, and she was like, then just take him. Because all this time where I had been like concerned that something was wrong, everyone was just like, he's a baby, Lily, like, yeah, babies cry.
Yeah.
And I just like, it's like, wow, like he just really hates me, sucky mom. And no, like that wasn't the case. He was going through this thing, he couldn't tell me.
Yeah.
And it probably happened so subtly over time that he didn't even really realize.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we picked him up, took him to the emergency room, and we were at the hospital for 5 days. I think we spent 3 days in the PICU. I was just it was just super hard, but I kept being grateful that it was something that was treatable.
Yeah.
And not like I mean, of course, diabetes is life altering, but not something like, and I don't want to sound insensitive, but I was really like on the drive to the hospital. I was so afraid, like, am I losing my baby? And I was, in a sense, I was. And
yeah.
And it was just for so long that I had just let all these signs go. And I wish that when I first would have Googled diabetes in October, I wish that I would have gotten him to his pediatrician and said, maybe we should test him just because he's drinking so much.
Yeah, even that alone, you're right. Even just that. Yeah, even just that symptom. Can we just prick his finger because he's just drinking a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, not taking in the other things that you notice. You know, he's having a hard time going to sleep, but he's acting tired. And then he's, of course, he's drinking more, so he's going through his diaper. You knew something was, you know, off, or you wouldn't have made the pediatrician visit.
Exactly.
And then how long were you wrestling with it in your mind for a while? I know you said you had your family telling you, you know, he's fine or it's fine. And I don't know how long, you know, I personally did it for, I mean, a little bit, a few days probably before we went to the ER with my daughter. But did you have like some self-talk where you thought?
I did. And it got to the point where I wasn't sleeping at night. And this was like 2 weeks before his diagnosis. Like I just stayed up, just driving myself crazy in my mind, just like calling my mom and dad back to back. Like I know something's wrong with him. Like, I don't know. And I wish I would have taken him sooner. I just didn't. And like I'll beat myself up forever about that. But
you can't. I've had someone tell me that too. I did it. We all do it. You can't do that. You can't live back there. You can't go backwards because you have him now, and he's, you know, thriving. And like you said, he's living with type 1, and there are, you know, some horrific stories that I wish I would not have read shortly after we were home, because I would wrestle with, you know, we're the lucky ones, you know, like I've said before, that our children get to live with it and our family gets to continue. And we can do this. We can spread awareness and share our story. And those parents are also sharing their story, but they don't have their child.
Yeah. And that's what I didn't realize either, is that like not every child will make it out of DKA.
Yeah.
And that just like, that didn't dawn on me until way later than it should have.
Yeah, me either. Don't feel bad. Yeah, me either. I mean, I really didn't comprehend it at all there in the ER. I mean, I was looking at her and I knew how ill she was. Yeah. And she was also in intensive care. And, but, you know, I don't think, you know, you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know how serious it is. And then when you find out, I think it almost scared me a little bit more because, you know, like how quickly, like you said, I noticed Cassie was in a 24-hour, she went downhill fast. And it sounds like your son, even though you guys were all trying to enjoy Christmas, and it was Christmas Eve, and who wants to go to the hospital on Christmas Eve? And so you knew something was wrong. So when you made the pediatrician visit for him, what did you say? Like when you called to say, I want to bring him in, what were you saying?
Yeah, so, and I don't know why, but when I called the pediatrician, I didn't even mention the drinking. I didn't mention the wobbliness. I didn't mention the broken sleep. I just threw all that out the window. And I, like, the most prominent thing that really scared me was his like weakness in his shoulders and his body. He was just weak because his muscles weren't getting sugar or energy. Like he didn't have anything, and that just like something is really wrong. But at the same time, I kind of thought, because his grandpa picks him up by like right here, and I thought, well, that can't be good for anyone's shoulders, so like maybe it's from grandpa picking him up like that, and that's why. But I missed all that, and
no, you didn't know. I mean, and that's really young. I mean, that's really young, and like you said, he can't tell you. And, I think I would probably write off those same things as just like a whiny, he's getting ready. He's, a year and a half almost. But the drinking is, yeah, you said he was going through so much fluids.
And I don't know how many times I Googled it, but every time I saw diabetes, and I brought it up with AJ's mom, and she brought it up also, like maybe he's diabetic. But at the same time, we were sitting there like, no way, like this kid is not diabetic.
You're not the only one to say that.
And it's like, but he was. And I just think if there's ever a moment where a parent thinks that, hey, something's not right, I don't care how small it is, get them to the pediatrician, take them to the hospital. I mean, it's hard with COVID. I know, like, so many people don't want to risk it with COVID if something isn't wrong. But
yeah,
the only thing, like, I wish we could have caught it earlier.
I know.
And yeah, thank God that he is still here with us and growing and thriving. And
yeah, I know. It's scary to think back on. It is, but you can't do, you just can't do that because it's not helpful. It's not productive, and you're here now,
yeah.
And you can move forward. And by wanting to do this and agreeing to do this, you're opening yourself up. And I'm getting teary-eyed at all these stories, and but this is huge. This is important, especially when you have a 14-month-old that, like you said, cannot tell you, you know, anything really, even if it's I don't feel good or my head hurts or I'm tired. You're just having to go on your gut and your eyes.
Yeah, it was just like constant screaming, and he was trying to tell me so bad, he just couldn't, that he was uncomfortable or in pain, and I don't know if he was really in pain. I mean, I don't know how he was really feeling, but it was just like the constant screaming. And
oh, for like, sure he felt miserable probably.
And if he didn't get something he wanted, and it was just, but that's a toddler thing,
Sure. Yeah.
They don't get what they want, they scream and cry. And I didn't see how miserable he really was.
Well, thank you so much for opening yourself up. This is hard. I know it is. Is there anything that you want to add, or is there anything that you would like to say? If you could reach, the parent that is wondering, or the parent, whether it's a month from now or a year from now, if they hear it and in the back of their mind, they remember this, what would you want to say?
Go. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Don't wait a second.
Yeah.
And if the doctor's visit is too far off, don't wait.
ER.
Yeah. I agree.
Don't wait.
I know
it's not worth it.
No, it's not, because it in a span of 24 hours, you talk about the difference of, I don't even want to say it.
I mean, could you imagine Christmas Eve just not caring to open your presents? No. 14 months old, not caring about brand new toys, or not able to care. I mean, he cared, he just wasn't able to enjoy it.
Right. Yeah.
That was the biggest. Don't wait.
Yeah.
We could have.
And at that point, it had gone on for so long that, like,
we could have been home on Christmas if we would have went earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we had gone in October, I mean, when it was just starting, you know, I mean, the finger prick probably wouldn't have showed like
a
whole lot, but it would have been out of range, I'm assuming, because he was,
probably,
that's when he was drinking.
But it might have been like 2 something instead of, what did you say?
Instead of greater than 680.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what normal blood sugars were at the
Neither
time
did I.
either.
Don't feel bad. And I don't know if you watched the first video or any of the videos I've done, but when, you know, I just, you think back and you're like, how clueless you were. I wrestled with it, you know, and like I said, you don't know if you don't know, but they, things moved pretty quick and they pricked her finger. And the nurse said to me, well, I'm not getting, it's not reading. And I said, well, what does that mean? And they were like, well, that means it's over 700. And I said, well, what does that mean? And they were like, well, basically, that's when they first said DKA. And they were like, so what this means is we're waiting on a bed in intensive care. That's how we found out. And then the endocrinologist starts drawing on a whiteboard. And I shared this already, but I didn't even see the whiteboard in the room. And it happens fast, and you're thrown all these things and you're trying to process it. And, you know, when the endocrinologist on duty, that actually is Cassie's endo now, said, you know, we were able to tell 3 months prior that her levels were already high. She was running in the 3s, so about 300 something, 3 months prior when she was diagnosed in October. And I remember sitting there and I understood that because it made me mad. Like, you mean to tell me? And I'm looking at her and she's hooked up and she feels as horrible as she looks. And I remember I was pissed. Like, what? You mean 3 months went by and we could have known 3 months ago and spared her this? Right. And I created Beforeware.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so glad that you created this group because, I mean, hopefully it reaches someone who needs to hear it.
I hope
someone
so too.
who's got a kid who's drinking a lot and peeing a lot, and they're just kind of writing it off.
Yeah.
Don't write it off.
Yeah.
Go.
Yes, just go. Wait. Yeah. Even at first time, like you said, just drinking more. Well, you know, what would make you, you know, not go, huh? That's different. Yeah. So even just the drinking more, that's a sign for, you know, all of our stories, all of our children, all of the type 1s. There are adults in this group that have been living with type 1 for over 30 years. And it's, all the symptoms are there and all the symptoms are the same. The diagnosis might be different and the story may be a little different, but all the symptoms are, they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. AJ, did you want to say anything?
No, I think I did.
Yeah, you did. That's really it. Just go if you think that something is wrong.
One thing I know for sure is when a mom knows,
Yeah.
When a mom feels it, it's not most likely not wrong.
You were unsettled for a couple weeks, so your gut was telling you.
Yeah.
She was unsettled for a lot longer than a couple weeks.
Like I said, I wasn't sleeping at night anymore. I was just staying up, and I was Googling myself crazy too.
Oh yeah.
Like.
Oh, she still does that.
Well.
So do I.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do I. So do I.
But I was having these really awful dreams too, of like either Riker getting hurt really bad, or the one that just like stuck in my head, and I'm not sure if I should share this or not, but this was a couple days before his diagnosis, and I dreamed that he was literally having a seizure in my arms. And I just I woke up, I was sleeping, trying to catch up on sleep. I worked night shift. So I woke up in the middle of the day. Riker wasn't here. He was with Grandma and Grandpa. And I called them right away and I was like, is he okay? Like, I just had this crazy dream. And they're like, yeah, he's fine. He's just being Riker, you know, cranky. And I was like, okay, well.
Your intuition was doing the right thing. You just couldn't piece the puzzles together yet.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, just if you notice anything wrong with your baby, and maybe it's not diabetes, maybe it's something else, you know, like maybe just a tiny infection. But either way, take them in, because it could be type 1 and could save them from DKA.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And share this if you want. I'm so happy that you decided to do this. And I don't, you know, I'm not going to stop. As long as I can get people to join me, I'll keep doing this. So you are now definitely part of it.
I absolutely think you should. I love the purpose of it.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for messaging me. And you guys have a good night. And I'll share it and tag you, and you share it. And let's just keep doing the good work. Let's just pound it out. I don't care if it takes 2 years, 2 months, 10 decades. Let's just keep doing it. So thank you guys. Definitely. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara.